started writing on writing stuff. We put out 7-inch recently, about a week ago, I guess now.
Yeah.
So it was with one original song and then a cover of an Iron Claw song on the other side. So that's what we did over the winter. We've also been writing new tunes.
Let's say next year.
Next year, probably spring of next year.
Yeah.
So, record in the winter time, so possibly December or January, and then have it be released in May.
Seems to be what we do every year.
every other year.
Yeah. I think we're pretty happy with the Eldritch Dark. I mean, and also, I mean, our new single sort of hints at, you know, what the songwriting may sound like a little, but I mean, it's hard to really.
More classic. I mean, what on the last record, we the songwriting kind of moves organically. What I noticed is the approach to making the record. I think we've kind of settled on something that we really like, where we just get in a room all together and lay down as much as possible live as we possibly can. So on this record, it was drums, guitar, organ, and bass. We're all done completely live, and then just a few overdubs after that. It's just so we can get like a nice, vibrant, live-sounding record.
A little bit of both. I think usually someone will come to the table with a framework for a song, and then other members will help flesh it out, change it around. So a little bit of both. Yeah.
Usually, I mean, I guess half the time, the song will be like completed in the writer's head, and we'll just execute it, and then the other half it'll kind of be this, you know, here's this idea, and then you know someone will say, well, why don't we go and move it in this direction, or add this part, or maybe we'll have a part lying around that we put into it.
Sean usually seems to, I wish he was here to speak for himself, but he usually seems to have an idea for sort of like a
theme of the song.
Yeah, like he'll have a title and he'll kind of know what he wants it to be about, and have some ideas for lyrics, and then also have an accompanying sort of, you know, mood.
He seems to have the mood, the theme, and the title established, and then the music comes out of that, and then we finish the music, and then he writes the lyrics.
Yeah,
so like,
exactly.
He puts the finishing touches on. It's interesting.
I guess it kind of makes sense, I suppose.
That's a good label.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not too fussy about what we get called in terms of a genre label.
Yeah.
You know, it's as long as people are listening, you know. I mean, it's to be kind of like put into the metal world is great, because metal fans are so fantastic in general. They buy the most and come out to the shows. Sorry, not buy. That sounds terrible. But no, they're really good. They're really great supporters of the music. I should say they're the most diehard fans you can get.
Loyal fans.
But the psychedelic aspect is good. And, you know, it makes it not so scary, I guess, to other people, because metal can be a little off-putting. But
and we like psych and we like doom, so. Yeah, I think it's the well of inspiration has remained sort of constant, like the same sorts of like musical and non-musical influences, but
and now I think with I mean, versus the first album that I wasn't on, and not to big myself up, but having Michael and now myself were able to do a lot more than we were before in this band. Kind of in terms of execution of musical ideas, and more ideas coming out.
And this is sort of the longest lineup we've had now.
The solidest lineup.
The most solid lineup. So it's like we've actually, I felt like, without any sort of interruptions in membership, we've been able to sort of cultivate a sound together.
I think Ali just has been getting better and better.
That's
all it is.
I mean, maybe not a flute, but that's sort of like I hit a sort of plateau and it's just sort of there. But organ, definitely, I mean, we practice all the time, so it's not my first, flute is my first instrument, organ is, well, piano was the first one I learned, but I'm not the greatest at it, but I think we played so much and we've toured so much, I've gotten better at it, so there's more I can do. And I think when I write songs, I write them on keyboard, so I think also learning to write on keyboard has improved my playing. So I think it's just, it fits in better.
You've also become more, since I've joined it, just become a more creative musician, I think, so. Your melodies coming out of the flute are just more interesting if you're, you know,
Yeah.
no problem. I like it. I mean, and it gives just more. Well, all I see it as is just more voices, just more kind of a. We're, you know, in this band, 4 people, but there's 7 or 8 voices that are able to kind of go. To be utilized, and it makes it just makes for a more interesting album or a more interesting live performance. So you're not just hearing guitar solo after guitar solo after guitar solo after guitar solo.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, it's like, for me, it's like, it's not like so much it's like almost just like a logistical decision. Like, I want to play this kind of music, but I don't play guitar, I play flute, but I play my flute as though it was a guitar, I think, a lot of times. I do solos where there might be a guitar solo, so on one hand, it's just, that's my instrument, so it's logistical, but then on the other hand, a lot of the you know, 60s and 70s prog albums that I really like the Italian prog and the South American prog, and obviously Jethro Tull. I mean, there's a lot of, like, obviously a lot of flute, like Osana and La Orma are really flute heavy and have heavy flute in them. So also, I mean, it's kind of an opportunity to channel those kinds of sounds and drag them up into the present day. No, never. I did get to see him live for the very first time ever, shockingly, because I've been a huge fan since I was like 13, but yeah, I saw him live last year. He played, it wasn't Jethro Tull, it was just Ian Anderson and his backing band, but they played Tull songs, and they played Thick as a Brick in its entirety, and that was really cool, and he was amazing. Yeah, I mean, his flute playing is just spectacular, so yeah. Speaking of someone who's just sort of like improved, like he's just, yeah, it was really, really good.
I've always said it's a kind of like, if I understand everything correctly, it's the romanticism of the 1800s kind of filtered through the 70s, filtered through our own personal experiences with those things. So a lot of it stems from like romantics, like E.T.A. Hoffman, or later romantics or post-romantics, I guess you'd call it, like H.P. Lovecraft and who's that one that Sean?
Clark Ashton
Smith. And but taking those influences and kind of like putting the kind of heavy rock aesthetic of the 70s on it, like those Italian horror movies and Hammer horror and English horror movies, and then bringing that into our age. And I mean, there are bands that we were inspired by, that, you know, like Witchcraft and those other kind of 70s revival bands, I guess you might call them, later on, that we also derive from. So it's a kind of long, complex complex view.
Yeah.
And then of course, so the 1800s romanticism is like looking back towards an imagined past that never really existed, an amalgamation of pan-European influences and kind of like Greco-classicism and occultism and all this stuff. So
yeah.
I think it's more or less it's more of an interest and an aesthetic choice than it is anything kind of. I mean, the thing about that occult stuff is, you know, you can kind of invent it as you go. There's no real tradition. There's no real. There's no dogma to it. You know. So it's hard to say. You know, I mean, I'm sure we all draw from those ideas kind of in a greater spiritual sense of like kind of looking past normal religious values, but not, you know, not necessarily like we're not down in the witch pit sacrificing.
The witch pit.
Yeah, sacrificing animals or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think the closest we get to, you know, staging any sort of occult ritual is going on stage and playing on music. So.
Yeah. You know, I think the problem is, I mean, there's not a lot of those in America or Canada.
Yeah.
North America.
I mean, I guess when we were in New Orleans,
Yeah.
that was, you know, they say it's a pretty haunted city, and that was pretty
Yeah.
cool, but none of us experienced any of that firsthand.
No, and,
so.
and when you're kind of touring around Europe, it's kind of like pick up and go, so you don't get to see a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
unfortunately. We were at a 900-year-old pub the other day, though, in Nottingham. That was interesting.
Yep.
Felt a little, you know, there's something there.
Yeah, exactly. It had a certain ancient energy to it. Well, it's nice that people like our music,
Yeah,
you know, it makes us happy.
It's great. It hasn't really, I mean, personally, it hasn't really, hasn't really changed us. It's made us just grateful that we can go out and play to, you know, decent sized crowds, and people like the record, and they send us messages and tell us, you know, like that they love the music, and we're happy to.
Yeah, it's super encouraging because now we want to, you know, release more music. Yeah, I mean.
The video was kind of a collaboration between
collaborative,
the Goodbye Gemini video was a collaboration between. We kind of gave a rough idea of what we wanted to work on the theme of like a, you know, I guess it was like a sun and a moon kind of thing, like a positive, dark energy and a bright energy, and you know. But the guy, the production company that did it, whose name escapes me unfortunately.
Yeah, but Bruce Bay was the director, and he's an amazing filmmaker. He's actually done feature-length films that have screened all across Iran, like in theaters in Iran. So he's had some success as a filmmaker. It was really cool. He was just like into our music. He and Sean are friends, and he, you know, for a very reasonable price agreed to help us out with this film. I shot it on 8mm, which was really cool. So we got this really grainy vibe.
and as far as the art goes, I think, you know, I think for us it's like a big part of producing anything is getting someone's voice to kind of come through. So we saw Patrick Zoller's work for the cover of the Die Hard box, and we contacted him and we said, you know, we'd like to get an illustration, and it just looked so good.
Yeah.
Like, and we, you know, he just sent that to us, like, this is what I've got. It was brilliant. And I think actually for the cover of the Eldritch Dark, the regular cover, that was gonna be a poster. We were gonna get our friend Anik Giroux to make. Yeah. But then we just thought, like, that's the album cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's, you know, these sort of things are a combination of people bringing amazing ideas to us, and that's sort of working with them. Yeah, but Patrick Zoller is amazing. Karmazin, yeah. I don't know if you've seen a lot of his artwork.
No, not really.
He also did the cover for the 7-inch we just put out, and we have it on his shirt. This looks great.
Yeah.
I think so. We seem to have found like a nice team of people we like to work with. Like
totally.
Ian Blurton, Anik, and
Ian Blurton is the producer. He produced our last 2 recordings, so the single and our last record, and he's just incredibly talented and brilliant. And
the hardest working guy.
really hardworking.
Well, actually,
you should mention that.
we knew we wanted to do it live off the floor, and we knew that it was going to take longer. It would have been quicker for us to go in and just throw down the drums, throw down the bass, but we did the second record, Living with the Ancients, like that, and it was stressful, and it felt like we didn't really, it didn't feel like it was us playing the room. We loved the record and we're very proud of it, but with the Eldritch Dark we really hit what we want to sound like. And the studio we went into was less expensive and in a kind of
like a windowless,
sunless,
like a bunker type
in the south, kind of literally near the boondocks in Toronto.
Yeah, and when you're recording in the middle of February and it's freezing, we've got like a cold wind blowing over the lake.
Yeah, so it was pretty bleak, and but we just kind of like went in. It was good because we just kind of went in and we're just like, all right, we're not here to muck around. We're not here to play or have fun or drink cappuccinos. We're just gonna work.
Exactly.
And get it done with.
Yeah.
So actually, no, we kind of we did our second record and we did most of it in Steve Albini's studio in Chicago, and that was super fancy. And then our next record we did we did in like a little bunker.
Yeah, but we can spend more time, and so I think that's the most important thing.